sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
The fairy tale is complete. The Central Coast Mariners, champions of Australia.
The smell of finals is in the air. And if Brisbane want to snabble their spot in the top six, they must continue their winning form as the Newcastle Jets arrive in town looking to frank their upset win over Sydney FC. Good afternoon. It's great to have your company here on Yuggera and Turrbal land at Suncorp Stadium. It's Brisbane Roar hosting the Newcastle Jets in matchday 24 of the Isuzu Ute A-League. Both sides will be making their way into the tunnel, as you can see on the Isuzu Ute tunnel cam. Brisbane Roar, they began this season with so much promise. A cup final was the start, followed by a fabulous first 7 weeks of football, which saw them sit second in December. But the departure of not one or two, but three coaches stalled their momentum. Ruben Zadkovic riding the ship. Now he must ensure the Roar finish the season with the promise they showed all the way back in the beginning if they want to play finals. Trying to deny them tonight, Newcastle. They are steeled and determined despite a future which looks as uncertain as it does bleak. And these Jets, the youngest side in the league, could have thrown in the towel long ago. The fact they didn't is testament to what Rob Stanton has built in his first season at the club. This match supporting the DT38 Foundation, who do wonderful work. We'll be hearing from them at halftime, and also is one of the A-League's Green Games, a player-driven initiative in conjunction with the PFA. And you'll see both captains tonight wearing green armbands designed by Park SCC. So the team news. After Brisbane's stoic 2-1 win on the road in Western Sydney, Ruben Zadkovic has been forced into one change, so Keegan Jelicic earned a late call-up to the Ollie Roos. So Jack Hingett returns, pushing Anthony Burke-Gilroy higher up the pitch. Macklin Freak starts in goal for the 23rd time this season after saving a penalty to ensure the Roar held on to win last week. There's no room for Marco Rojas. He's out with a hamstring injury. There is room, though, for the teenager who celebrated his 19th birthday last week as they won on Friday night against Western Sydney. Tonight he's chasing another milestone, his 7th goal of the season, which would draw him level for most goals by a teenager in A-League history. So in their 499th A-League men's match, the Newcastle Jets also have one change. Mark Natter's departure. He's off to the Ollie Roos to look to qualify for the Olympics. So Carl Jenkinson returns, the one-time English international. Goalkeeper Ryan Scott is in career best form, saving the most big chances in the league of any keeper this season. Apostolos Stamatolopoulos is 1 goal away from equaling the most goals in a season for a Jet, that being Adam Taggart, who scored 16 in 2013-14. So Carl Jenkinson back in the starting side for the first time since January 23. He injured his groin after about 8 minutes in that game, so we wish him the best of luck tonight. He doesn't have a contract with the club for next season. He gets a chance to show his value this evening in Brisbane. Well, Ruben Zadkovic, 3 wins, 3 draws from his 9 matches in charge. There's some talk around that he could have his contract extended by the Roar after an impressive start. And Rob Stanton comes up against Zadkovic for the first time. Both formerly of Wollongong Wolves. And Adam Kersey raises the bat today, brings up a century of A-League men's matches. So congratulations to our referee. Made his debut back in 2012 when Adelaide hosted Melbourne Heart. Ellie Babal, the Jets football operations manager, scored in that game. That's the only connection I can find to this one this afternoon. So Brisbane chasing a result to keep their finals hopes alive. Newcastle hunting back-to-back wins for the first time this season. And it's great to have the company of a man with a connection to both of these cities, former Brisbane striker and Newcastle breaker Andy Harper. Harps, we'll just see this chance play out. Stamatolopoulos almost getting involved. What piques your interest in this one?
Well, the ability, Ben, good afternoon to you, of Brisbane to keep themselves in the hunt. A win here puts new pressure on the Sydney derby to follow. They'll be nipping at the heels of the Wanderers and Sydney. They'll go past Melbourne City. So Newcastle, the visitors tonight, have great history in this fixture at this ground. And the Newcastle players and their coach have done an incredible job just remaining as competitive as they have this year, given their situation. But really the story is Brisbane. Will they, can they? 90 minutes will tell.
Well, Newcastle can have a big impact on the finals race over their final 3 matches of the season. This one, of course, with Brisbane tonight fighting for a spot in the 6, and then Wellington and the Mariners at home to follow, of course, fighting it out for the Premier's play. As you mentioned, Harps, that head-to-head record, would you believe Brisbane, the only current A-League side that Newcastle have a head-to-head advantage over. 22-21 they lead. 13-4 the record here at Suncorp as Hoare slides it out to Hingett. And it rebounds back to Henry Hoare, looking for goals in back-to-back matches. And it would take him to his best season in his A-League career. He scored 5 in the 2021-2022 campaign. He's on 5 at the moment. That's a neat chest towards Waddingham from Burke Gilroy, who is playing higher up the pitch. Jelicic missing, O'Shea. And now Hoare slipping it in behind, or attempting to, but just overcooked it.
A good start. Newcastle with their first opportunity took the ball deep into Brisbane's territory and forced a mini scramble at the near post. And then Brisbane with their first chance really to have a look at the Newcastle defence and the goal, and managed quite a constructive attack. Henry Hoare prominent on 2 occasions. What a season it's been for him.
Macklin Freak as well really consolidated that custodian role for Brisbane. So he just couldn't find the Sri Lankan international. Jack Hingett played a couple of matches for the Sri Lankan national team in that most recent international window. Wonderful to see him paying homage to his father's heritage, getting that opportunity, and a man of his experience, no doubt, so helpful for the Sri Lankan side. Tom Aldred and Berenguer. O'Shea and Corey Brown. Can be patient here, Brisbane. That's looked to be a lovely weighted ball, slipped in for Berenguer, but it just slipped away from him.
Just probably a year or 2 beyond Florent Berenguer there. That Christmas, still obviously contributing as a player, but not the sprightly Frenchman who arrived a few years ago. And that pass was a beauty in prospect.
Maybe the sprinklers pre-game as well, Harps. Just a little early, a little bit of extra water on the pitch, allowing that ball to slide on by. So Carl Jenkinson finding Ingham just his 4th start of the season. And I mentioned in the pre-game that he hasn't signed beyond this season, but an opportunity to show his value, not just here in the A-League, but abroad if he does want to head home. He's 32 years of age, so you'd expect he'd still have some football left in him. He wouldn't want to call it quits after this season. And his defensive partner, Philip Kankar, of course, the centre of a headline storm after that clash against Sydney last week. Clayton Taylor curling it towards the back post. It was this man's involvement in that altercation with Robbie Mack which forced the Sydney wingers removal from the field via the red card, so he's going to miss the Sydney derby a little later. And Rob Stanton said he did have a chat to Phil this week and said stay away from social media, and he backed his player in that post-match press conference as well as Ingham putting some pressure on Trewin, who has done well there. Kai Trewin.
Yeah, I think the postscript to that incident and the other with Uli Davila, to which you refer, we haven't referred yet to the Uli Davila one, but that combined storm, the postscript was the VAR was asleep at the wheel last weekend. Well, I think that has become clear. And the game's investment in that technology and all the gnashing of teeth it's caused could have dealt with both issues as it was set up to do. It didn't.
Well, being just 2 metres away from the hand of Mack, it didn't look like a red card at all. But anyway, that's all been argued plenty of times during the week, and here we are as O'Shea turning away from Grozos, finding Berenguer in a lovely pocket of space there, and Brisbane can probe here through Hoare. Brown joining the attack, linking with Hoare. Berenguer able to clear it away. This pass just overhit for Waddingham. That little raid for Brisbane down the left just reminded me of the way Sydney scored that goal against Newcastle. There was just no backheel flick on the inside, so vulnerabilities potentially there for Brisbane to exploit.
Well, I thought it was actually a wonderful opportunity for Brisbane as it opened up, and I think on 2 occasions, the first of which was when the ball was with Henry Hoare, just lacked that little bit of real belief to drive deep into the Newcastle penalty area. There was a couple of opportunities, that one with Hoare and then one other, that just lacked that real belief and grabbing the opportunity that was there as it presented.
So Brisbane Roar did lose their last match at home, which was that clash against Macarthur, which they took to Ballymore, 2-1 defeat. But prior to that, 4 matches unbeaten here at Suncorp. But they come up against a Jets side who have won their last 4 here at Suncorp against the Roar, dating back to 2016, the last time Brisbane beat Newcastle here at Suncorp Stadium. Harris Gamulka giving away that free kick, getting himself back in the starting side in consecutive weeks after being somewhat a peripheral figure under Ruben Zadkovic. Trewin finding Berenguer. He's floating this ball, searching for Burke Gilroy. Wilmering cuts it out. Newcastle have been working a lot with Wilmering, getting him ready to start more matches with Lucas Moragas, who is of course over with the Olyroos. They were expecting him to be initially in that squad. In the end, he was called up late anyway, but that news around him potentially signing with the Mariners is also a reason why he's been left out for the last couple of matches. He's just finding some space out in on this left edge. Wilmering turns it around looking for Stamatolopoulos, but that's easy pickings for Aldred. Kanka. And Timmins. Piscopo just couldn't twist his body in time. Both sides really testing each other out in these opening 10 minutes. Really good ball movement. Zipping around on this surface at Suncorp. Freak. Cut out by Jenkinson. Gets through to O'Shea, who you might remember was sent off the last time these two sides met in January. That was a controversial red card as well. Newcastle getting a 3-1 victory that evening, midweek in Newcastle. Brisbane winning that Unite round clash 3-2. Before that, as Brown has his opportunity snuffed out by Jenkinson. Timmins spots an opportunity, but then just turns over the ball cheaply and returns it to the Raw. Truan. Brown. Berenguer, who is signed until 2025, one of very few Brisbane players who actually have been signed beyond this season. Hingett taking on Taylor, and he's going to earn his side a corner.
Yeah, well done from Jack Hingett, as there's been a bit of a standoff over the last couple of minutes of both teams trying to size up the mood of the match and the mood of their opponents, but it gets out to the right side for Brisbane, and Jack Hingett deciding to take on Clayton Taylor, who's a robust, strong, fast player. And Jack now, I think it's fair to say, in the autumn of his career, but he still backed himself and won the edge, and thereafter the corner.
Well, here we go. Two Englishmen.
You've got nothing to do with this. Both the ups just need to calm it down and stop, okay? We don't need to do anything. We don't need to do anything. Let's settle.
You can hear Jenkinson's not happy, saying he's been pushed by Aldred. So the two men from up north in England.
Well, north v south.
There's Brown onto the head of Ingham.
Unless you know something I don't, that's the most London-sounding northern accent.
As he is Waddingham. Well, what have I got here? I've got, well, Jenkinson is Charlton Athletic, and Tom Aldred, he's from Carlisle United.
Yeah, south v north. It didn't matter. It was, Carl hasn't played much this year, and depending on what happens with the Jets, what the parameters are, etc., you could do worse than keeping a player like that in and around a team that is, you'd imagine, going to be rebuilt again.
Steins. And now Newcastle get their chance with a corner, their first of the game. This was this feeling between the two Englishmen. Who would you back, Northern Englishmen or Southern Englishmen, Harps? Don't have to answer that.
I think that one was settled officially centuries ago, wasn't it?
So it's Wilmering. He's bending it towards the back post where Jenkinson is. Piscopo tried to help it on its way. And then Grozos just lobs the volley into the arms of Macklin Freak. Well, it was scenes of last week with Piraeus' equaliser.
Yeah, well, there's Carl Jenkinson winning the ball and knocking it back to Piscopo, whose efforts is a good one, actually. Macklin Freak reacted well, no panic. He was in a good position, but didn't panic, just relaxed and provided the buffer to stop the ball going in.
So there you go, first 15 minutes down here at Suncorp. Really intriguing start to this one. Both sides probing, both have asked questions. Freak just put under a little bit of extra pressure. Now Truan with two Jets coming down looking for the pincer manoeuvre, but he's able to ensure Adam Kersey gets a touch there. In game number 100, the referee gets involved, and Brisbane are off down the right through Hingett. Back in the starting side tonight. Hoare trying to wriggle with that trademark movement we've come to love from Henry Hoare, trying to find that space, just couldn't quite do so. Gamulka finds Burke Gilroy, and Hingett has men in the middle. Can he hit them? He's denied the opportunity to cross by his opposite number in Cal Timmins.
Getting up nice and high, Jack Hingett. It's a very positive mindset from Brisbane. Henry Hoare again. I like you, Ben. I think you're speaking on behalf of many people, enjoying watching him come into himself as a footballer and just really running the show a lot of the time for Brisbane in an attacking sense.
He's got so much X factor, doesn't he, Henry Hoare? Just don't know what he's going to do next, and that's why he's been so dangerous for Brisbane. Corner comes in from Brown, and that is easy pickings for one of the form goalkeepers in the competition right now, Ryan Scott. He's just built nicely into this season. Second most saves behind Philip Curto, and most big chances saved as well for the Coffs Harbour Junior, who went via Victoria, Bentley Greens and Western United. So he would have watched plenty of pre-season trials between Brisbane and Newcastle. Usually that's where they play, at Coffs Harbour. Get the local community around it, and he said he remembers watching down the years and always wanted to get his chance, and he is making a good fist of it this season.
Well, by my reckoning, that makes two players starting for Newcastle tonight from the Northern New South Wales Federation. Scott from Coffs Harbour and Dane Ingham from far North Coast. And the big future for Newcastle, of course, my humble opinion, is for it to be a Newcastle club. Newcastle players.
O'Shea clipping, searching for Berenguer, and Wilmering did enough, and then Kankar finds Grozos.
And to get over this hump, ownership hump, etc., finally to have a belief that Newcastle can produce their own, because they're there in their hundreds.
Hingett taking on Wilmering. Jack Hingett turning back the clock against the much younger opponent. Turned him inside and out, and then Timmins just drills that straight into Gamulka. And said, why not have a try? That would have been a spectacular way to open his A-League account.
Yeah, good hit. Truly, Ryan Scott was very comfortable behind him, but Brisbane really building a case here. Fortunate escape there from Clayton Taylor, which might work nicely for Newcastle.
Piscopo always dangerous. You just wonder how things may have panned out for Newcastle had they had a fit Reno Piscopo for most of the season. He's been getting back to his best football, scored last week against Sydney. Talk about X factor. He has got it in spades. Wilmering to Taylor. And now Grozos. Ingham. And it was Truan. Defensive responsibility. Only as far as Timmins, and now Piscopo. Jenkinson spotted Wilmering, and his delivery was just a little too heavy for Stamatolopoulos. Newcastle may get another opportunity here. Piscopo, Ingham, lovely 1-2, but the touch from Corey Brown was critical.
Yeah, good defending.
And is there a bit of ill feeling? Well, I thought for an initial moment that it was just all fun and games, but maybe there was a little bit more spice there.
I think the way Renault interpreted things, yes. I don't think so from Macklin Freak. And I just need to correct an oversight. Of course, there's another Newcastle kid in the current team, and that's Anthony Burke-Gilroy through the Jets Academy, which I watched today.
Well, on the field. On the field.
Yeah, I'm talking about the first 11. And I watched the Jets Academy today play in Sydney. I saw 3 of the age groups, and it just reconfirms that there's a lot of good kids. They don't have to be importing players willy-nilly.
He was actually training with the Jets in the pre-season. Burke-Gilroy is O'Shea with a half-hearted shot, you could probably call that. But Burke-Gilroy, yeah, he was trialling, you'd say, with Newcastle in the pre-season.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the perception, this will be the last thing I say, the perception from outsiders about how good Newcastle football is and can be is completely skewed. And the lack of Newcastle kids right around the league, not just in their hometown, that's one issue, that's a big enough issue. It reflects that. But you watch those kids today, and I've been watching them for years. Well, they can play. They just need the perception of them to change.
Need a bit of love. Hingett. That run of Hoare. Here is Burke-Gilroy. O'Shea, lovely footwork. Couldn't retain possession though through the traffic of white shirts. Jenkinson barking out some orders. Newcastle look to go quickly here through Stamatolopoulos. Has he got any support here with him? He did in the form of Steins, who did arrive late, but couldn't control the pass. And now Brisbane with a chance to break down this right edge. He's been doing a lot of running in the first half, Jack Hingett. Aldred just spotted Waddingham. He's got himself in a good position here. Tom Waddingham looking to hold it up. Stabs it to Hoare. Henry Hoare. Swivelling back to Berenguer. Flag comes up for offside. That is certainly an area that the Newcastle centre-back combination have to be wary of. Tom Waddingham just off the shoulder there, got himself in a dangerous position. Six goals for him this season. He's got a good record recently at Suncorp. He's got 4 goals in his last 3. Taylor has it taken off his toes by Hingett. And now Hoare finds Brown. So just past the midway point of this first half, Harps. Pretty even contest so far. Both sides still probably feeling each other out as Hoare just peels off to the left. Brown and Burke-Gilroy. Kamulka sided Hingett and Kankar on the first. Hingett has a go on the second.
What a brilliant opportunity again. And It's the theme of the opening exchanges. Jack Hingett really pushing up high as the right fullback. Look at him working that line. It's a lovely pass again from Gumulka. And you've just got to find a better solution at the end there. Even take a touch if you're Hingett and size up a better opportunity than just to hit it into a wall of 3 retreating Newcastle defenders.
Waddingham, great strength from the 19-year-old, and O'Shea's pass is overhit. But it's been a fruitful avenue for Brisbane, that right edge in this first half. I know Corey Brown has got involved down the left, but Jack Hingett has had a couple of sights on goal.
Newcastle have defended as well as they've needed to, but Brisbane have set up well. You know, they're looking comfortable. They're statistically one of the top passing teams in the competition. Very leaky defence, which has hurt them badly. And so far today, there's been that couple of examples again to underscore the fact that at times they dither in the front third when they've got the opportunity there. They just sort of tend to back off and try and double down to make sure, rather than actually back themselves and go hard with the opportunity avails itself. But they play some nice stuff.
Remember, that was a topic of conversation when we were calling their clash against MacArthur before the international break. Lots of chances. In the end, they got punished because they didn't take enough of those half opportunities that they created. They were beaten 2-1 that day after leading 1-0. Timmins, good strength initially, but then Berenguer ends up with the ball at his feet. And the Frenchman finds the Irishman. And here's Kai Trewin. Speaking about players off contract, Kai Trewin, there's talk he could be off to a Victorian club. A little bit of word around on that, so that'd be a big loss for Brisbane as this ball floated straight into the arms of Ryan Scott. And my understanding is there are a number of Brisbane players that have been re-signed, but hasn't been announced publicly yet. Based on my little sheet I've got in front of me, there's only about a handful of players that aren't contracted beyond this season, but obviously we'll find out more in the coming weeks from a raw perspective. Of course, the coaching front is another area they're going to have to sort out as well. Turns into a pocket of space which was quickly sealed up by 3 Brisbane players, and now Burke Gilroy beat the first attempted rugby tackle of Wilmering. He gets away with it. Probably would have gone into the book had he gone down. Burke Gilroy, now Hingett. O'Shea. O'Shea looking to get onto that left boot. He finds Berenguer instead. Can they find that avenue to goal? Henry Hoare goes down. It's going to be a corner kick. He's saying he was felled here by Dane Ingham. Remember, Dane Ingham was the centre of some controversy in that Unite round clash between these two. Is there more to come here?
Well, I don't know. They're competing claims for a goal kick, a corner and or a penalty here. It looks like it's going to be out for a corner.
What are your thoughts on that, Harps? That little incident. Is there any cries for a penalty? The Raw coaching staff are asking the question.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought so, but not enough in it. Good ball to keep it in. But another example of Brisbane, 2.5 sights at goal there, and just no one really willing to stick the chance goalward.
O'Shea driving it in. Ingham nods it away. Brown, and now Aldred did sit in the end for him. He struck it nicely on the volley. Scored last week, did Tommy Aldred, the captain. Berenguer. And he just left it behind him for a moment. It looked as though he was going to skin Clayton Taylor there down the left. Brown, O'Shea, a clearance, a decent one from Costa Grozos. Again down this profitable route on the right. This time it's Burke Gilroy who's right against the sideline. Aldred, it was a pass which found its intended target eventually. And Truant to Ukamulka. Jenkinson, now Waddingham. He's caused some headaches shoulder to shoulder with Kankar in this game. Tom Waddingham. Now Brown around the outside. Brown finds Burke Gilroy. And it was the Newcastle Jets junior who very nearly opened the scoring.
Wonderful chance, good action. It's fabulous from Corey Brown. Isn't he playing well at the moment? And it's a nice run to the near post from Burke Gilroy. Quite get the sting on the touch that he wanted, but still it required Newcastle to have players in the right place to stop the ball from going across the line. Brisbane looking good.
O'Shea and Berenguer. Hoare on the swivel. Burke Gilroy on his right. Hoare goes himself, deflection. Had Ryan Scott standing like a statue and praying the ball would bend wide.
Well, 2 attacks from Brisbane consecutively with 2 Everton goals. They've hopefully, for their sake, broken the cycle. It was a good effort from Henry Hoare. I thought his dribbling passage might have been assisted. A more intelligent run to his right from Anthony Burke Gilroy. This was a bit narrow. Could have opened the defence a little bit more and maybe provided a little bit more space for Henry Hoare. Ryan Scott, as it turned out, was very grateful to watch the ball sail by his right post.
So Jenkinson keeping an eye on Aldred once again as O'Shea's delivery. Well, it's much too deep. Kai Truan's going to have to track it down. And Burke Gilroy. Timmins. His pass once again. Pinched back by Brisbane. O'Shea's gliding against that left edge. Which is allowed to flow, very few stoppages. Hingett against Wilmering once again. Those two have been going at it so far in this game. You'd probably give it to Hingett so far, the experienced fullback. O'Shea turns inboard. And now Berenguer just opened up. And he opted to find Brown. Waddingham making himself known in the box. It's Henry Hoare. And now Berenguer. How did Brisbane not open the scoring? There were 4 Raw players And incredibly, it's still 0-0.
Well, I don't know what to say. I mean, Jay O'Shea did magnificently to get the ball out of the right and send the attack to the left. Corey Brown did magnificently. And then a group of 4 Brisbane players couldn't combine to force the ball home, or even look like it, really. Well defended Newcastle in the end, but that was there for Brisbane, surely.
Yeah, well, Newcastle's defence has been something that's tightened up in recent weeks. 7th best defence in the comp for a side sitting 10th on the table. Just confirmation there that more of the action has been down their defensive end in this game. O'Shea. An area which Rob Stanton said this week he's been most impressed with defensively is just that desperation in the box, and you can see that from Newcastle. A big reason why they have been able to tighten the screws defensively and not conceding as many goals. They've only conceded 1 in the last 2 matches. They had that 0-0 draw with Melbourne City and then 3-1 over Sydney FC. Now, there's been a yellow card handed out to someone on the Brisbane bench, maybe Ruben Zadkovic. We'll try and get that confirmed. So it was Ruben Zadkovic that went into the book. Strange moment to go into the book. It seemed like there was a decision which was being heavily disputed. An aimless pass. You haven't seen too many of those from Brisbane in this first half. You just wonder, squandering that chance, how will they respond? Will they be getting a little bit frustrated? They've had 8 attempts on goal in this first half, 2 on target, Newcastle just the 2, and they've been soaking up most of the pressure of late. Ingham. Gamulka and Freak perfectly between the on-rushing Jets. And that confirming that Jack Hingett's side has been the preferred avenue for Brisbane down the right edge. So just confirmation that yellow card did go to Ruben Zadkovic, and it was for kicking that second football you may have seen, which rolled onto the pitch in the middle of a Brisbane Roar attack. So not quite sure what the reason was for that. At least we know one of his players didn't have to do up their shoelace. That came out in the wash last week as to why that situation began between Kankar and Robbie Mack. So, of course, the 38th minute. This match so important for the DT38 Foundation, the Dylan Tombides Foundation. We had a match in Perth earlier this season. And we'll be hearing from the DT38 Foundation at halftime just to hear about all the wonderful work they're doing in the honour of a footballer whose life was taken way, way too soon. Stein's driving. And it will be a corner for Newcastle. Well, it was a promising situation. The shot probably didn't live up to the attack, but got a bit of good fortune there.
Well, it's red. Fantastic space that's opened up for Steins. Look overly convincing in his execution, but the corner might be difficult for Brisbane here.
And the corner, Freak came, didn't get a punch to it. Timmins able to track it down. Grozos now. Stamatolopoulos getting himself about at that back post. He scored a double last time these sides met back in January. Fruitful season for him, 3 goals in 2 against the Raw for Stamatolopoulos this season. Both sides chasing a goal here, still deadlocked Brisbane with the best chances thus far. He can angle that pass towards Gamulka. Now Newcastle through Taylor. Piscopo. He's been very much a peripheral figure in this game so far. Gives away a free kick here. Aldred seemed to have a bit of his jersey in the aftermath, but referee Adam Kersey saying it was Piscopo who initiated contact. Hingett again with room to roam. Drives to the byline, off Berenguer, and Ryan Scott able to catch up with it just as Henry Hoare threatened to put Brisbane in front. Well, miraculously, Newcastle just holding Brisbane at bay. Now mounting some serious questions here for the defence. Jenkinson, Piscopo and Steins. As promising a situation Newcastle have had in this first half, or at least in the last 15 minutes or so. And Jenkinson just gives it back to Brisbane. And this is what the current state of play means for the ladder in the Isuzu Ute A-League. The Mariners with a win over Western United, back to the top over Wellington on wins. Goal difference as well, but of course it is wins the first tiebreaker. And then Brisbane and Newcastle in the bottom 6. And Brisbane, if they win this one, they would go to within 2 points of Western Sydney Wanderers, who you would have seen there in the top 6. So 30 points at the moment, Newcastle on 25. And remember, you want to get in the top 8 because that means you don't have to go through the Australia Cup playoffs. So important for the Jets as Brown straight onto the head of Stamatolopoulos. And that is a path that Newcastle and Brisbane have both had to tread in previous seasons, going through the playoff. Newcastle both seasons that it was in play. Aldred. Have they got one final chance before halftime, Brisbane? Based on what they've produced so far, you would think surely they would have one more query to pose the Newcastle defence. O'Shea swerves away from Stamatolopoulos and Hingett. O'Shea curling it around in front of Burke Gilroy, but Timmins is using his body here. He got himself into a pickle, but Kankar cleaned up any kind of mess that could have unfolded. Taylor up the line to Stamatolopoulos, who earns Newcastle a much-needed throw. wouldn't expect too much stoppage time. Is this one of those 0 stoppage time games, or are we going to get a traditional minute here? Fourth official, Nathan Shakespeare. And they've given us the minute. A minute for Brisbane to use here in possession. And the story of this first half, Jack Hingett with space on the right, earning a last-minute corner here for the Roar.
It's been the most consistent part of the game today. And Hingett's probably won his third, if not fourth corner. Brisbane have created enough chances to have at least scored one. Good chances as well, good openings. Newcastle have defended their 6-yard area well enough, however. Can they hold out one more time, get into the sheds with the score level?
Dangerous moment here for Newcastle, right in the shadows of half-time. Emmons O'Shea deep. Aldred gets back there. And Grozos and then Timmins over the sideline. And that probably should do us for the first half. And a first half in which Brisbane have asked the most questions, caused the most headaches for the opposition defence. But at half-time, it is still deadlocked. The former Newcastle Jet, through his youth days, Anthony Burke-Gilroy had a great opportunity. Waddingham as well probed. Half-time, though, it's Brisbane Roar 0, Newcastle Jets 0. Still all to play for the Roar in the finals race. We'll be back with the half-time show right after this from Suncorp. Hey, Donna, it's Ben. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Now, Donna, your last name, how do I pronounce it? Is it Dufresne?
Yeah, well done.
Sweet. Sweet. Thank you. And just so it's the DT38 Awareness Day, isn't it?
Yes, correct. That's right. And just don't refer to us as Foundation because we're not allowed in Australia. That's just a UK brand.
Just the UK, no worries.
Yeah. I can't see you guys, just to let you know.
No, that's all right. We will be with you in about 6 minutes' time.
Okay,
all right?
perfect.
So, what's the key thing you want to touch on, Donna?
I think just the fact that we've partnered with a second A-League club. I think that's the biggest thing. Glory being our first charity partner. And then just raising awareness, raising funds, and just to support us.
No worries. Thanks, Donna. That's great.
No problem.
attachment against his old club. And he says to the Cove, that's what you're missing.
Yes, the Sydney Derby coming up right after this one. What a cracker it shapes as. Well, let's get the thoughts of Scott McKinnon and Alex Brosk, who are at the ground.
Well, look, we all know Alex Brosk is a nice guy, but he gets a little bit mad when it comes to derby time, mate. Your boys did it so easy last time around. The high press really caught out the Wanderers. Is it going to be that easy this time around? Surely Roods will have him fired up.
Without a doubt. As much as I'd like to see a similar scoreline, I think it will be completely different tonight. Roods will have them fired up. Off the back of that, he would have shown them the footage and made sure that tonight is a different outcome. But just with so much at stake for both clubs, 1 point separating them, the winner, I dare say, will at least have guaranteed finals football. So, as always, these games they never disappoint.
No, they don't. Now, look, the Wanderers are missing Lockie Brook, Milanovic off with the Ollie Roos. Brandon Barello, he's only scored 1 goal this season. Will he step up tonight? He needs to, because those two have scored 16 goals between them this season.
They have, and look, I mean, I know that would have had a huge impact in tonight's game, but Brandon Barello is the guy that scares me. If I think back to derbies of the past, Brendan Santalab was the guy who just, regardless of how he was going in the season, always stood up in these games, and Barello's that sort of guy. He will step up, and we've seen his quality and the goals he can score. He'll be disappointed with that last result as well against Sydney, and tonight I'm sure he'll be wanting to make his mark.
We'll wait and see. No Robbie Mack either for that whack, but we'll see.
Same contact as that one.
But you stood up. That's how hard this guy is. Alex Brosk should be a ripping encounter here tonight at Allianz Stadium.
Thanks, Scotty. Thanks, Brosky. Welcome to the Hungry Jacks halftime show, where it is Newcastle and Brisbane locked at 0-0 at halftime. Let's have a look, Harps, at the Harvey Norman highlights, and they're going to show Brisbane creating the majority of the chances.
Basically, Brisbane are the reason why the teams are still 0-0, because they can't score, and they've played some really good football. They lack conviction and a bit of quality, but mostly it's conviction and just really wanting to grab the chance on a couple of occasions, and this is a great one. That was worthy of a goal in itself, and to Newcastle's credit, they had players positioning and scrambling well, but it was fantastic from Corey Brown and Anthony Burke-Gilroy. There's 2 or 3 other occasions when Brisbane just didn't really look like they had it in them to take the opportunity as it came their way. Again, I'm really, really happy to be watching this late season resurgence of Corey Brown. He's had a great career, but a lot of trouble over the last 18 months, and he's come through that, playing really well down the left side for Brisbane. Hingett busy down the right-hand side, just not busy enough in front of goal. Plenty of possession, plenty of attempts at goal, but just got to get their shooting and their ambition a little more sharpened.
Yeah, those stats tell the story that Harps has been touching on there. Brisbane Raw dominant in terms of creating chances, possession as well, but it's on the scoreboard where they need a goal. They need the 3 points to keep those finals hopes flickering. Now the Paramount Plus Player Index, well, no surprises there. It is a Raw-a-thon. Jay O'Shea leading the way, 84.5 from that first half. And all the way down the list, it is all Brisbane Raw players, which you can understand. They have been possessing the ball more than Newcastle, almost double the amount. And that's where we sit at half-time. Now it is Brisbane Raw's DT38 Awareness Day this evening at Suncorp Stadium. And Donna Giuffre, the head of media and operations at DT38, has joined us. Donna, just tell us what is so important about tonight.
Thank you so much for having us on tonight. I know I speak on behalf of everybody at the charity how special this event has been. It's just remarkable to partner with a second A-Leagues club within Brisbane Raw, and honouring Dylan's legacy within the Australian football community is one of the biggest things for us, and tonight just further cements that for us.
And just the reaction from the crowd. We saw, of course, the 38th minute applause. That would have been really special to hear, I'm sure.
It was spine-tingling. I was getting messages from the team back in Perth and the UK saying goosebumps. And, you know, it was so special to see that. And just, you know, Dylan's not from Brisbane, but they all stood up. They all did that minute applause. And it was just remarkable to see. And it really touched all our hearts. So thank you so much.
Donna, this is a great thing. It's still a lot of sadness. Many people remember Dylan, but a lot of the youngsters watching the coverage won't know who Dylan Tombides is.
Yes.
And we should cut to the chase and say if his career continued before it was along with his life so tragically cut short, he'd be playing for Australia in World Cups and soaring in the Premier League. So for the youngsters, that's the Australian we remember. Donna,
Yes.
what are you trying to get out of this tonight? What's the whole point of this promotion?
Look, it's all about raising awareness, honouring Dylan, honouring his legacy, but also ensuring what happened to Dylan doesn't happen again. What happened, you're 100% spot on. It was a tragedy. It could have been avoided had there been further testing. So early detection, and our motto is delay is deadly, so get educated. So if you feel that something's not right, just go get tested. Do not take no for an answer. It is so important for males and females to be aware of themselves and aware of their health. So, and Dylan's story sets that precedence for all of us.
Donna, just tell us as well about some of the programs that DT38 is running.
Yeah, look, you know, we're obviously based in Perth and in the UK, but we're now going to move on here as well in Brisbane, and we're working close with the team here, working within the community, having the Dylan Tombides Trophy at, you know, the local NPL standard, educating the kids about themselves, about mental health, and also about male health, and removing that stigma associated with it, because there is a huge stigma. So we're working to move towards that, and just to ensure that males are aware of themselves. So to support us is to also raise funds, and that's also another big initiative. So you can do that by just heading to our website.
Thank you, Donna, and thank you so much for all the work that you do with DT38.
Thank you so much, guys.
There's Donna Giuffre, Head of Media and Operations at DT38. And that has been the Hungry Jacks halftime show here from Suncorp Stadium. Second half is coming up after the break, but do not forget, this is huge, the Olympic qualifiers. It's the AFC Under-23 Asian Cup. It starts Monday, April 15, and you can catch it all here.
Milanovic, oh, what a goal!
They're the young stars that have lit up the A-League.
Fantastic finish from the Olyroos.
Now they'll be representing their country against the best in Asia.
Here's Courtney Perkins with time and space, and Jordan Courtney Perkins.
The Olyroos are chasing a spot in the Olympics at the AFC Under-23 Asian Cup. It starts April 15th, and every game is live on Paramount+.
Welcome back to Suncorp Stadium. It is such a critical match in the context of Brisbane Roar's season. 3 points for them tonight can take them within a couple of points of Western Sydney, who are sitting on the base of the 6. Here is a recruit from the Mariners, Lockie Bayliss, who hasn't got many opportunities this year because he's been dealing with osteitis pubis. He is on the field in this second half. Rob Stanton looking to spark his side in an attacking sense. He's certainly a man who can do so. And we are underway here at Suncorp in the second half. Or not. Take two, we're underway this time in the second half at Suncorp Stadium. 45 minutes for Brisbane to keep their season alive. 45 minutes for Newcastle to chase back-to-back wins for the first time this season, halves.
Well, there have been seasons that haven't really, for either club, gotten going, but for various reasons. Newcastle's very well documented. Brisbane's still simmering under the surface. I mean, you know, they've had a very, very rocky road this time round, as you've mentioned. 4 coaches in a season. It doesn't speak to terrific amounts of stability. On that, though, both sets of players have done well, and the coaches too. It's Brisbane who still, with 45 to play in this one, can really give this comp a shake, make a lot of teams very nervous if they can pick the 3 points up.
O'Shea's delivery, pinpoint horse header though wasn't. It was straight into Stamatolopoulos. Maybe he was hoping that Stamatolopoulos could put the ball in his own net, because he's been pretty good at putting the ball in the net this season.
He has. The Jets have not been very good at finding him today. I don't even know really, as we start the second half, before then, if you've called his name. He's their best player, one of the sharpest shooters in the league this season, and it speaks to their difficulties today against this Brisbane team, that they just have not been able to get their best player involved in the match almost at all.
It's reminiscent of their last away trip, Newcastle, against Melbourne City. They were really penned in against them, struggled to create chances, and came away with a 0-0 draw thanks to some Ryan Scott heroics. And at the moment, Brisbane, their own worst enemy, giving away a simple free kick for offside. Piscopo. Rommering on his outside, so some real creativity out there in the form of Bayliss with Piscopo. 2 players who I'm sure Newcastle would have loved to have on the field more often this season. Ingham. So just confirming, it's my understanding it was Steins, the player replaced at half-time by Rob Stanton, allowing Bayliss to come onto the field, who came through the Jets Academy. He's also been part of the Mariners Academy after playing his youth football in Darwin. He finds Stamatolopoulos, who links with Ingham, and now Timmins. It pinched by O'Shea. Pressure coming from Brisbane there to win it back. And as Harps has mentioned already, this match on Brisbane's terms. If they want to keep those finals hopes alive, it is they who are dictating that journey, because they're posing all the questions at the moment. Newcastle, thinking of their best chance in this game, you'd probably say Stamatolopoulos in the opening 20 seconds as Ryan Scott raises the heart rate of Newcastle Jets fans.
And so just on that, Dan, and what did Brisbane do to break the standoff? They look to see off this raid led by Dane Ingham.
And Ingham's delivery was a good one. For one of the first times in this game, they had managed to find Stamatolopoulos, who you can hear is so frustrated he couldn't get contact.
Well, he found beautiful space. He worked that little arc around the edge of the 6-yard box superbly, Stamatolopoulos, as he does and has done this season and does so often. He's a fine player. And no wonder he's disappointed with the season that he's had, that he couldn't get some decent contact on that. Nice play from Dane Ingham. And so back to Brisbane just quickly as we start the second half, or 5 minutes into it. You just wonder how many more gears Brisbane have got and how long they wait to use them. Really put Brisbane under the pump. It's been pretty gentlemanly and measured, their build-up so far. And certainly off the ball, they haven't really gone like a bat out of hell to rattle Newcastle's cage. Even so, they've had enough chances to be winning the match. They don't want this one to just come and go from the foundation they've set, not to take these 3 points, which they need.
And that's the issue. Create all those chances, don't put them away. It only takes one, and Newcastle will probably be thinking they should have taken the lead there through Stamatolopoulos. So that their best chance of the game, clearly. Berenguer. It's harassed there by Taylor, forced him backwards, and Aldred to Hingan. Berenguer down the profitable right. Hingan's delivery too close to Scott, but he doesn't claim that. Tom Waddingham makes it 1-0.
No, it's good penetration from Berenguer. And really, that's the example. Word forward, thrust deep into Newcastle heartland. Didn't have the answer at the end of it, but the lead-up was good. But they do have to watch it. You know, Newcastle aren't going to muck around in the transition. With Stamatolopoulos there, he can be the game winner for the Jets.
Taylor shifting it left and right. Clayton Taylor has arrowed it into the bottom corner. He's got goals in back-to-back matches, and Newcastle have stunned Suncorp Stadium. Clayton Taylor, I think, has stunned himself. It's 1-0 to the Jets.
Well, the Harvey Norman replay is going to chalk up another goal, seemingly from nothing, from a guy making his debut A-League season. He knows where the back of the net is, Clayton Taylor. And he arrows this one through the finest of openings. And Macklin Freak, he doesn't even go for it. He's completely taken by surprise. And that's not intense enough, the defending. It's way too lax from Brisbane, given what they're trying to achieve out of this game tonight. To allow a shot from that angle is really unforgivable from the Brisbane players involved. Taras Kamulka was one.
So Clayton Taylor, well, what a season, what a debut season he's had for Newcastle. And I think we've shortchanged him. That is his 7th goal of the season. So clearly Newcastle's second highest goal scorer for the campaign, behind Stamatolopoulos. And he was a signing which really excited Jets fans after they watched him in the Australia Cup, launched that wonderful volley against Brisbane it was, and there were some signs that he could produce something special this season, and he certainly has. So goals in back-to-back matches for the first time in his A-League career.
Well, whilst Brisbane have been with a pop gun attack achieving nothing at the other end of the field, Macklin Freak last week, last-minute penalty save to secure the 3 points, and then just watches that. It's remarkable. It is such a soft goal. Well done to Clayton Taylor. Well done to the Newcastle team for sticking in the game and defending their goal, and then with the counter punch. But honestly, from a Zadkovic and Brisbane fan viewpoint, you're looking at that thinking the shot shouldn't have been allowed in the first place. And what goalkeeper Freak was doing is a mystery.
I thought for a minute then, Harps, you were going to say, while Brisbane have fiddled, Newcastle have punished them. And their finals hopes, well, they're burning down at the moment unless they can turn this around. Piscopo now, Newcastle with confidence. Bayliss towards Stamatolopoulos, and if Newcastle make it a second, Brisbane are going to need 3 goals to snatch the 3 points at least. Remembering a point tonight keeps them alive, but for how long is the question. 3 points, all of a sudden they're well and truly asking the questions ahead of the Sydney derby. Of course, Western Sydney would only be 2 points ahead, and there's no guarantee they would win the Sydney derby tonight.
Well, having conceded the lead now, it's even more important to see what Brisbane are made of. You know, can they actually put the foot down and go for it? Newcastle, certainly in the penalty area, basically have been defending pretty comfortably.
So look at that. Newcastle on the live ladder would go up to 27 points, 2 matches to play. Remembering the last 2 seasons, 29 points Newcastle have mustered. 29 points, and you can look at the amount spent as quite more substantial in the last 2 seasons. It's been a season where they won't make finals, but in the end it's going to be a similar story to previous years. And just confirming Markovski and Mile Uznic on, Burke, Gilroy and Waddingham off. And Truant finding Hall. Berenguer. Berenguer couldn't keep it down. Hits the den instead of the back of the net.
This player who has great technique, Berenguer, and that was on evidence to set the shot up. But the technique escaped him when the shot was executed. Beautiful first touch to open up the path to goal. And he blazed away, couldn't control the telling effort. Newcastle come away again.
Newcastle asking for the free kick. Not going to be forthcoming there. Bayliss. He's buzzing around at the moment, Lockie Bayliss, but Piscopo couldn't handle the pass. They do win it back, though. And now Markovski. He's asking the question. O'Shea. And Berenguer. Poor. And the Frenchman Berenguer to Brown. Curling delivery. Markovski. He should have finished it from there, you would think.
Well, makeable. Not the easiest chance that Brisbane have had tonight, but he attacked the ball well. Nice build-up down the left again. In here, Ruben Zadkovic and the Brisbane bench calling for the players to play forward, which they did really effectively then. It's, again, nice delivery into the danger zone by Corey Brown, and Markovski attacking the ball with great willingness.
And don't forget as well, this game, I know he probably wouldn't say it, Ruben Zadkovic, but this is personal. He did cut his teeth coaching in Newcastle. There were talk in the off-season that he might be the new Newcastle Jets head coach. Rob Stanton got the gig, and of course he is now at Brisbane, so no doubt he'd be keen to get one against his old side. As Clayton Taylor sends Hingard into the book. Piscopo. And now Timmins. Brisbane pushing numbers forward, but O'Shea can't quite get it to them initially. Now finds Hall. Here we go, the final half hour, and the flag goes up to signify that. But I was going to mention, Harps, this is the period where Newcastle concede a glut of goals. 22 they've conceded in the final 30 minutes of matches. That's the most in the competition. No doubt those have dried up in recent weeks, but it has been somewhat of an Achilles heel for Newcastle this season. Saw the live ladder a minute ago. I know you've touched on it. That top 8 spot in the competition. Of course, top 6 finals, but top 8, you don't have to go through the Australia Cup playoff. And 3 points for Newcastle, 27 points. Draws them closer to Brisbane, Adelaide, who are sort of on the cusp of those positions. So a really good opportunity for them if they can snatch a win here tonight.
I know.
Ruben Zadkovic, he's playing ball boy as well here tonight. He knows the importance of this one. Every second counts for Brisbane. And this is a helpful free kick for Newcastle. Some would say slightly soft, but he's one of the most foul players in the competition. Reno Piscopo, he gets that one going his way. He be at Newcastle next year. Doesn't have a contract beyond this season. No doubt he'd be snapped up by another club. Macklin Freak marshalling his defence. Chris Bowling, you can see bottom of screen. Set piece coach. Stamatolopoulos. There is sweet 16 for Stamatolopoulos. It's a record equaling goal. The most goals in a season by a Newcastle Jet. He joins Adam Taggart at that mark. And Newcastle, who soaked up all the pressure in the first half, have landed 2 blows in the second.
Well, the Harvey Norman replay is reinforcing for us a couple of things we've learnt this season. Firstly, Apostolos Stamatolopoulos is a fine player. He heads that gloriously, as he's done on 2 or 3 occasions to score this season. The other point is how bad Brisbane's defence can be at times. They're the leakiest defence in the competition. The goal to concede the lead was bad enough, but this from a set piece is really routine stuff. He's too good to be given that space. Checking for offside. All clear. And Brisbane's hopes fading. So much to play for. And what a limp response it's been from the Raw.
So Brisbane with an almighty mountain to climb now. Even if they did get back to 2-2, it's the 3 points that they are so desperate for. And now the frustration creeps in. The crowd are groaning with frustration. He looks pretty dejected, Macklin Freak. He was the match winner last week. And now the Raw are going to make another change. Jez Lofthouse coming on for Taras Gamulka, so they need some sparks, and Jez Lofthouse can make them fly. We've seen what he can do in this competition. He scored the 1 goal, but it's been a lower abdominal injury, which has really hindered his season. Piscopo gliding down the right, has Bayliss through the centre, and it will be a throw here for Brisbane. Well, right now, this is as good an opportunity Newcastle have had to make it back-to-back wins this season. They were seconds away from doing so back in round 11, where they conceded that late penalty against MacArthur. 1-1 draw. That was after that 2-0 win against Western United. This time it's a 2-goal cushion, but there's still more than enough time for Brisbane Raw. They've shown steely resolve under Ruben Zadkovic, especially here at home. And all they need is just one. And this crowd can lift them to a stunning victory. As Miller Jusnic earns a corner. It could start here for Brisbane.
And of course, you're right, there's still enough time for Brisbane. Between the penalty boxes, their play is good enough. Now, can they find the answer in an attacking sense to inject some life, re-inject some life back into the campaign?
Brown is curling Berenguer again. Another chance. 13 for the game for Brisbane. Another one off target. So 13 attempts, 2 on target for Brisbane. Newcastle 5 and 2 on target. And that just tells the tale of the efficiency of these two sides in front of goal thus far. Ingham, touch away from Lofthouse, Stamatolopoulos. So Brisbane, well, they've got to take a chance, and that invites opportunities for Newcastle as Taylor cutting it back. In the end, there was no jet in that range, and O'Shea is just cantering away and finding Lofthouse. The crowd love Jez Lofthouse with the low socks and the dancing shoes. And it was Dane Ingham initially. Berenguer tried to place it. And that's as loud as the crowd have been tonight. He brings this stadium alive, does Jez Lofthouse, and then Markowski's first touch let him down.
Unfortunate, because he used his body really well then, Markowski. Had some speed on it, that ball in from Joe O'Shea or Florent Berenguer, either or. I think it was probably a bit deeper. It came from Jay O'Shea, but he used his body nicely, just couldn't get the touch on that fizzing pass. And you're right, there's not been much from the Brisbane attack tonight that has actually got the Brisbane crowd expectant until Jez Lofthouse got the ball.
So intriguingly, 68, almost 69 minutes. Newcastle just with that one change. Bayliss coming on for Steins at half-time. Rob Stanton not going to the bench on a second occasion. Berenguer. How has he managed to control there? And the delivery nodded away by Kankar. And now Aldred. Well, he got himself in a pickle. Stamatolopoulos bearing down on goal. He has got Piscopo. He uses Reno, who takes on Aldred, and he did almightily well, the Brisbane Roar captain.
Needed to. Saved his own blushes. And saved the game, really. Or it kept it in the balance at 3-0. You couldn't see Brisbane getting out of this. And what a chance to put it away. Amazing chance. Maybe the pass from Stamatolopoulos just a little under hit, which brought Aldred back into the duel. But Piscopo 1v1 there. You'd expect to do better.
Oh, this has come off the corner flag. For a moment, it stayed in there. And is that a cry for Stamatolopoulos to leave the field? I just saw Archie Goodwin getting ready on the sideline. No, it's going to be Reno Piscopo. Adam Kersey marching him to the halfway line. And the Cooks Hill United junior, who's scored a couple of times this season, coming off the bench against the Mariners and MacArthur. He's going to try and make an impact on the game and try and put this beyond the reach of Brisbane Roar.
Well, both of his younger brothers were on show for the Jets Academy this afternoon against Sydney FC.
And what were your thoughts, Harps?
Yeah, good. I mean, there's a lot of good players in those Jets teams.
Wilmering's delivery. Bayliss cushions it down for Stamatolopoulos, who is off balance.
But I did see Daniel McBreen out there. And I did...
That would have been interesting.
Well, it's always interesting talking to Macca and speaking, about the Jets. And I'd say to him, we had this chat. I do like the idea of seeing Archie Goodwin play up front with Stamatolopoulos. Archie is another player who gets fans excited. He always seems to me to have an impact on the game.
He's like the Jez Lofthouse at Newcastle, isn't he?
Yeah, maybe so. But he rarely doesn't have some sort of impact. He can't get a lot of game time. He's had some injury problems, etc., etc. I don't know the status of that now, but he certainly is the short-term future of the Newcastle attack, and the partnership with Stamatolopoulos could be a fruitful one.
Goodwin's delivery just in behind Taylor. Well, I can tell you what the official line was on Archie Goodwin's minutes off the bench. It's just they're trying to build up his loads with that back. They don't want to make him play too many back-to-back 90-minute matches while he's in this stage after he's had back issues in the past.
Yeah, sure, and that's, he's in good hands, so we're not questioning that, but he's a great talent. He's an exciting player. He has this rare ability to impact the game every time he takes the field, and his career needs full games. The Newcastle Jets, as a proposition, need Archie Goodwin getting full games. And we hope that's not far off down the track. And, of course, that's dependent not on his ability, but obviously on his body at this point.
Yeah, so 20 appearances for him now this season, which is the most by far and away in his A-League career.
Equates to how many minutes, though? That's the key. I mean, appearances are one thing. It's coming on with 2 minutes to go. There's no doubt in my mind that Archie Goodwin has something very special to offer.
Delivery is dangerous, and Ryan Scott, the informed goalkeeper, you'd have to say in the league right now, is showing exactly why. That is stunning reflexes.
Well, it's Corey Brown again. It's beautiful, beautiful service. And attacking the ball magnificently is Markowski. This is slightly questionable to me about whether this is dangerous play from Kankar, because he's left his feet to challenge with his feet for a player who's going to head the ball. Now, of course, mitigating against Kankar is the fact that Markowski was horizontal to the ground and stooping, but this is not a clear-cut one, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, here it is.
Here's the ball. Kankar just launches.
Yeah, very good point. Markowski, you could hear frustrated. O'Shea's delivery onto the head of Stamatolopoulos. And now Hingett sends it out to O'Shea. And Bayliss clears it away. Well, that's a huge moment in this game. You think,
Great save.
final 20 minutes, Brisbane get one back, 2-1.
Well, the difference between Ryan Scott then and Macklin Freak for the Clayton Taylor goal. Chalk and cheese. Brilliant save from Ryan Scott. Really, really excellent work. It was excellent work from Markowski as well.
And if you remember watching him at Bentley Greens, when they were making all those Australia Cup runs, you always knew that he was a quality goalkeeper. He just needed his opportunity. And he's got his opportunity at Newcastle. He had that opportunity at Western United a few years ago, but this is his chance as the #1. And he's just getting better and better as this season has gone on. This is a concern for Newcastle. Stamatolopoulos.
Yeah, this isn't. I mean, he's been hobbling around a lot of the game, actually, and still got that great goal, which Markowski could also have claimed were it not for Ryan Scott. That's great work from the young striker. I mean, that's as good as goalkeeping gets. Really.
And then he's ringing
He's
out
hot.
the
How
right.
hot is he? How hot is he? Great reflexes. Excellent save. Unfortunate for young Markowski. That'd be a great goal so early in your career. And it's what Brisbane have lacked, really, is someone attacking the ball, throwing their weight around in the penalty area. Corey Brown again on point with the service. He's hit 3 or 4 peaches tonight.
So there he is, the Arara Valley Dingo. Just wonderful to see a fresh face having a great season as Kankar back to his keeper in Scott. 28 years of age as well, Ryan Scott. And around the block is here is another opportunity for Brisbane. Markowski has it closed off by Kankar. Another corner here for the Raw.
He's making his presence felt. Good on him off the bench. He's had to be very patient. He's making his presence felt here.
Just 36 minutes of match time since Ruben Zatkovic took over, so he hasn't been one of his first choices. As Berenguer got a little nick off the back of the head. And now O'Shea shuffling to Milojuznic. And this will be another corner for Brisbane. The cheers of the Den, because it seemed that ball was overhit and Bayliss maybe didn't quite get the call from his teammates. And I believe that was the Jets goalkeeper, Ryan Scott, who's now punching it away. O'Shea kept it down. Now a chance for Truan. Newcastle desperate. Brisbane wasteful.
Well, in what is a marked improvement, however, from Brisbane Roar, they're actually threatening the goal. Not quite convincing that from Ryan Scott, but they regathered well, keeper and defenders.
Well, you do have to credit the desperation from Newcastle. It's been something they've really worked on. That is way overhit by O'Shea. You do not see that very often.
Indeed, needed to obviously keep the pressure on. The Jets overhit. Was the corner from Jay O'Shea, and the Jets can breathe. Time ticking away for Brisbane. There's been a response from the Raw, which is pleasing. Yet to yield a result, which is frustrating. But have they got it in them to keep pushing, to keep pushing?
Well, this is the man who scored against Newcastle back in January, his first A-League goal. He was buzzing off the bench. Remember, he scored that goal when Brisbane were down to 10 men. He was so dangerous, came on at half-time in that game when Ben Kahn was still Brisbane Raw coach, and he just gave him a licence and he took it as Milojuznic's delivery is knocked away by Timmins. home crowd behind them. It only takes one moment for Brisbane. O'Shea blocked off. 2 Jets sprawled on the tarmac. Now Miller-Jusnic. Miller-Jusnic fumbled by Scott, but then regathered just as Markowski looked to strike another goal against Newcastle.
Yeah, good on Ryan Scott too. That's fair contest. He did well to smother the first one, but couldn't control it. And there was a bit of cheese there for Markowski to have a nibble at, and he's entitled to do so. And he was gracious enough to realise that's fair game, youngster. That's fair game. And Brisbane slowly providing some sort of guide that they can show a way through this. Forcing Newcastle back. Good possession. More incisive play from Brisbane now.
The Den trying to inspire their side. Season on the line here at Suncorp for Brisbane Roar. Hoare and Aldred getting high. Poked in by Hingett. Brown at the back post. Back into the mixer. And now Berenguer. Truett. Sends it back Brown's way. And O'Shea through the legs of Timmins. Dazzling footwork from Jay O'Shea. Now Brown. They've done everything, Brisbane, except score.
Lovely Irish jig from Jay O'Shea to get through, including the nutmeg, and it probably didn't find Corey Brown that kindly for him to really let rip into a vacant part of the goal. Lovely work from Jay O'Shea. Look, and they're working hard too, the Newcastle defenders. You've got to pay credit there.
So Aon Majock coming on for Brisbane. He is a bundle of energy. From West Adelaide, that's where he played his youth football. And he was signed by Brisbane on a scholarship deal in 2022 after impressing in the NPL South Australia. So he comes on for Hingett. He's done a mountain of work down Brisbane's right edge in this one. Lofthouse managed to find the pass to Hoare. Markowski. So this young Brisbane brigade mounting a case, but the flag comes up for offside. Brisbane Roar have got Melbourne Victory away next week, Adelaide United at home in the final round. And Western Sydney can put the dagger through their finals hopes in the Sydney Derby if they can't get something out of this final 7 and a bit minutes plus stoppage time. Western Sydney on 34 points, Brisbane 29. And then Sydney FC 35, so a draw in that match would pretty much extinguish the Roar's finals hopes. They need a miracle. Aldred under the pressure of Taylor, but is going to get a throw. Timmins, good industry. And now Bayliss. Taylor had to keep an eye out for Majock, who is coming. And Majock now gets things moving here for Brisbane. 2 flyers there. Majock onto Miller-Jusnic, who swerves away from Grozos. And is just going to give away the free kick. No further sanction. Lofthouse, Berenguer. O'Shea driving on goal. Newcastle again blocking it away. Majok took on Taylor, who stood his ground. O'Shea and Bayliss with the safety first option.
Well, the packed defence of Newcastle, of course, it's very difficult to break down and get around and through, and they've done it with great conviction, the Jets. Ryan Scott at the back, but he's had, you know, a lot of really brave players in front, working hard, throwing their body in front of shots, etc. And can they see this corner away? They'd be pretty close to securing the points if they see this effort from Brisbane to safety.
O'Shea hanging it up to Aldred. Poor getting involved. Had a high boot. That was why Newcastle were crying. Mile Jusnic. And Trewin. O'Shea. And Berenguer. Back to Mile Jusnic. And off the shoulder of Majok for a Newcastle throw. Corey Brown is going to be replaced. He leads the Paramount Plus player index. 89.9. He's put in some dangerous deliveries. Jay O'Shea still up there as well. Clayton Taylor and Ryan Scott have come into the game in the second half. And Harps, I know it sounds drastic, but it could happen if Newcastle, as we see Jason Hoffman come onto the field. So A-League game number 298 for Jason Hoffman, if he does play the final two, which, let's be honest, we hope he does, because he deserves 300. He deserves a couple of extra zeros on that jersey. It'd be pretty special, F3 Derby final game, to go out Jason Hoffman. But I was going to say, if this is the final season of Newcastle, and I know that sounds drastic, House, but let's be honest, they haven't been sold yet, and we've heard the comments from the APL. One thing that can never be taken away is this record at Suncorp. Potentially 14 wins here, 4 defeats against Brisbane. 5 straight wins it would be if they claim all 3 points here. Brisbane still have time though. Brown and Trewin, and Grozos says anywhere will do.
Well, it's been a procession down the left from Corey Brown. Hasn't he been delightful? As a left fullback, just dropping in some delicious service into the Brisbane attack. Newcastle's defence so far has been up to it.
Kankar looking long, but no Jet willing to chase that. Lofthouse swerved away from Bayliss. Returns it to O'Shea. Poor. Numbers out to the right. Majok is there delivering. Oh, and off the... Unlucky for Mile Jusnic. The Jets were crying for a hand, but in the end, regardless, it's a goal kick. That's so unfortunate for Brisbane. The head. Now, Ryan Scott's going to waste time until he gets a yellow card. He's moved the ball from one side of the 6-yard box to the other. Just got the hurry up from the referee. An aerial battle here for possession. Won by Brisbane. And a problem for Bayliss. bad was the contact?
Yeah, I think he got cleaned up by Corey Brown there with a ball that was in the air.
Ruben Zadkovic imploring his side here to push for a goal which will breathe life back into this contest. Newcastle win it back. Grozos and Stamatolopoulos is giving chase, but Macklin Freak is out. Macklin Freak gives an opportunity to Bayliss, who decided to have a try.
No, it's going to go down as a shot. It should do.
What are we calling that now? An attempt from inside your own half. Are we calling it the Antonis or the Engela? Because we've got a couple of options now, halves.
Yeah, we do. The Antone Galar.
Don't mind it. We can work on it. So stoppage time is upon us. 5 minutes for Brisbane to save their season. 5 minutes for Newcastle to look for back-to-back wins, and it's Archie Goodwin one-on-one. He links with Stamatolopoulos. Goodwin may yet get another bite at the cherry. Back to Hoffman. Well, how have Newcastle not scored? It was Brisbane in the first, now it's the Jets. Hoffman. They get another opportunity. Flag comes up for offside. Well, Harps, there have been some Olympic finalists in spurning goals tonight.
Well, I mean, again, this is evidence of Archie Goodwin. Not long on the field, but he makes a great chance, and that was such a tired effort from Stamatolopoulos. That's the best I can say, because it should be Newcastle 3, Brisbane 0, and he should have had a brace. And a really tired effort to finish off the great work of Archie Goodwin to present the opportunity.
And he would have had the record on his own, most goals in a season by a Jet. Taggart and Stamatolopoulos level on 16 each after Apostolos' goal for Newcastle. Clayton Taylor, the other goal scorer, with 7 for the season. And that's why it's the Jets leading 2-0. Milajuznic and Hoare. O'Shea. And Harps Jets fans don't need reminding of the stoppage time issues as Hoare's header is collected by Scott, because 2-0 leads with less than 3 minutes of stoppage time remaining still would be a concern. If you remember that Australia Cup playoff match up in Darwin, I think the Jets were up 2-0 in the 95th minute and managed to go into extra time. 2-2 against Melbourne Victory. Brown drives it centrally. O'Shea. As usual, he's probed, he's queried O'Shea, but he just hasn't been able to find that critical goal for Brisbane. Just over 2 minutes remaining here in stoppage time. Brown as the flyer, Milajuznic links with Hoare, and Grozos shut off the angle. Bayliss has the pressure coming from behind and just left the pass short on Goodwin. Majok takes on Hoffman. Well, the wily Jason Hoffman using all his experience. High fives for Kankar. And a thumbs up from the Newcastle Olympic junior. And Stamatolopoulos is down again here. Is that his final involvement in the game? So what a final 2 matches it sets up for Newcastle. Wellington next week, Mariners the week after. Could have a big impact on the title race. They've only lost 1 of their last 5 if they get the job done, which you'd expect them to now. And that was that late goal against Adelaide. So Grimaldi comes on, back from that knee issue for Stamatolopoulos. Defender on for a striker. Tells you where the Jets are at this point in the game.
Yeah, great for the Jets. Another 3 points looming. And to continue this really eerie streak. Eerie if you're a Brisbane Roar fan. And disappointing too if you're a Brisbane Roar fan. Their season evaporating in front of their eyes. Maybe not mathematically. They win their last 2 games. They can get to 35. But the goal difference is horribly against them, and they need teams to fall over in front of them. What a disappointment for Brisbane. Congratulations to Newcastle.
So Newcastle, despite all the off-field challenges, they have back-to-back wins. They have a beating heart. And look at what it means here to the Newcastle Jets. They are getting around Ryan Scott. This is a tight unit. And this staggering statistic here at Suncorp, Newcastle 5 consecutive wins now dating back to 2016 against Brisbane Roar, and the Roar's finals hopes have all but disappeared with a whimper. And Rob Stanton, in his first season as a head coach in the A-League, his side, well, they are finding some kind of form at the back end of the season. Full time at Suncorp, Brisbane Roar 0, Newcastle Jets 2. And let's get to the Alex Tobin medal points from this one. Newcastle's 23rd win in A-League history against Brisbane, and it was Corey Brown. 3 points for him. Ryan Scott, the Jets goalkeeper, making some critical saves, and Carl Jenkinson